Alright, so in this video, I'm going to cover 1.2D, applications, missing quantities and consecutive integers. So this is a continuation of what we covered in 1.2C. You're going to follow the same steps. Remember, you're going to define your variable. You're going to set up your equation by translating your sentences into your equation. And you're essentially going to have an expression on each side of the equal sign. Then you're going to solve your equation. Remember, when you solve your equation, you're going to use inverse operations, and you're going to follow your distributive property, combine like terms. Do you have a variable on both sides? Your number, and then solve to get to the point where you just have a statement that says x equals. Then you're going to define your answer. You're going to make sure you've answered the question that the problem is asking for, because sometimes you have to take an extra step to find the additional quantities that you may need. All right, so let's do some examples. Write the following sentences as an equation and then solve. The larger of two numbers is 7 less than 3 times the smaller number. So what I like to do on these is I like to remind myself right off the bat that I need a large number and a small number. Okay. So the larger of two numbers is 7 less than 3 times the smaller number. Okay. Well, if x is the smaller number, then my larger number would be 3 times 7 less than 3 times the smaller number. So 3 times minus 7. So now I know that my smaller number is x and my larger number is 3 times the smaller number minus 7. Remember that less than is going to make it a turnaround phrase, which means that the 3 times x is going to come before the 7. Okay. And then I know that the sum of my two numbers right here is going to equal 61. So I know 61. And I know I'm going to have x plus 3x minus 7. So now I'm saying, and the space is going to bother me, but now I'm saying that my smaller number plus my larger number is going to equal 61. So wonderful. So now solve it. So remember your steps. D, C, V, and S. Well, I don't have distributive because I do not have parentheses, but I do have like terms because I have an x and I have a 3x. So combine them together. Okay. So that step's done. I don't have a variable on both sides, but I do have the number. I do have an addition or a subtraction. So do the opposite. And I'm going to end up with 4x equals 68. So now, I'm going to end up with 4x equals 68. So now I'm going to do this solve step and divide both sides by 4. X equals 17. Okay? So, am I done? No, because the problem is asking me for what are the numbers. So now I know that the smaller number equals 17. All right. But I have to remember to get the larger number, I have to take this 3x minus 7, and instead of the x, I'm going to substitute the value that I know for it. So 3 times 17 minus 7. Okay? So now I know I'm going to have 51 minus 7, which is 44. So now my larger number is 44. My smaller number is 17. All right. Let's do the next one. The larger of two numbers is twice the smaller number. If 12 is subtracted from the larger number, the result is 7 more than the smaller number. Okay. So the larger of two numbers is twice the smaller number. Twice the smaller number. Okay. So if I make x my smaller number, I could do a 2x there. So my larger number equals 2x, but I'm going to also subtract from 12. Okay. So there's my larger number. The result is 7 more than the smaller number. The small number I know was x, but here it's saying 7 more than. So I add 7. Okay. So if I do 2 times the larger number and subtract 12 from it, the result is 7 more than the smaller number. So what this problem is saying, if I do 2x minus 12, it's going to equal x plus 7. This is a statement where my large and my smaller number will be the same. They'll equal each other. All right, so let's figure out what x is. But remember, my large number is twice my smaller number. But if I subtract 12 from my larger number and I add 7 to my smaller number, then this statement is true. Okay? But here are my values. All right, so let's solve it. See? All right, so no distributive, no combined like terms, but I do have a variable on both sides. So let's move the smaller one. So now I know my smaller number is 19, right here. And my larger number would be 2 times 19. So I know my two numbers are 19 and 38. Okay? Because I've got to plug it into here. So in the first question, they gave us the number, right? In the second question, we had to put our two values equal to each other. Little nuance in the way that it was written.